All right, so this video is actually going to be dedicated to a comment that was posted on, I can't remember what video it was. It was definitely one of my analyses on Carrie Bradshaw's character from the Sex and the City series. And one of you all commented the reason why you didn't like Carrie is because, for one, she was problematic. And secondly, you felt like she was secretly trying to be Samantha, which was clearly another character on the series. And I sat with that comment for some time, but I kind of put it on the back burner. But I actually felt compelled to revisit that comment. It just ran across my mind again recently. And I wanted to make an analysis talking about this a little bit more because that person actually made a great point. There are instances where we've associated with someone who we believe is a friend, but little do we know their intentions for the association is completely different. There are some individuals who will utilize you as the blueprint to their life. And as I was preparing for this analysis after revisiting that comment, I started to think about friendship dynamics that either I observed, amongst other people, or that I experienced firsthand within my own friendship circles, that there absolutely are instances where you realize there's that one friend who is seemingly switching up on the friend group, but realistically, they're not switching up. They're finally revealing their hands to everyone who is within that circle. There are some people who approach platonic associations with the intentions of developing a long-lasting, long-term friendship. However, there are other people who approach platonic associations as a means to an end. They view it as pretty much a footstool, a way to sharpen their own tools in their toolbox, their own skills, their own attributes and traits in order to improve some facet of their life. So utilizing Samantha and Carrie's dynamic from the show Sex and the City, we're going to go ahead and hop right into this analysis. Because this concept of Carrie living vicariously through Samantha didn't stand out to me as I watched the series over the years, I felt compelled to do some additional research. Beyond revisiting certain episodes and clips, I wanted to look up the written description of each character to see, first and foremost, how these characters even came about, what role they were supposed to play in this friendship group, but also how it aligns with the presentation on screen. And what was interesting is, as I was looking up the description of Samantha's character versus Carrie's character, there was a stark difference. Samantha's character is depicted as someone who is bold, who is confident, who is certain and sure of herself, while Carrie's character is described as creative, almost like a hopeless romantic, but there's like a level of instability attached to her description. And it was in observing this stark difference, even in their character description, that I started to, ponder on the point that you all made, or one of you all made in the comment section, regarding Carrie possibly living vicariously through Samantha, or at least attempting to. And absolutely, there are instances where we align ourselves with a friend or a friend group because it establishes a sense of balance. I believe that that is complementary compatibility, if you will. But there are also instances where you may find yourself at the hands of someone who may feel inferior to you, and it's hard for them to truly be a friend to you because they harbor resentment due to that inferiority complex. And to better explain what is meant by feeling inferior to someone in a friendship, I'm actually going to read from the Inferior Envious archetype excerpt listed in this book. And it reads, "Now this is an envious individual who is much more dangerous as they adequately assess their shortcomings and weaknesses, which means they typically have a thorough assessment of how to accomplish things in spite of their inadequacies. When dealing with an envious individual who sees themselves as inferior to you, you must always be cautious when dealing with this person because they are one of the opponents who are capable of outthinking and outsmarting the majority of their targets. Since this person acknowledges they will not be able to beat you in the area they are envious of you in, what they will do is use others as pawns to play into your demise or even influence you to partake in your own downfall. They will use your assets to put you against yourself." So that excerpt is, I think, a clear depiction of what an envious enmeshment can look like, especially within a friendship. So there are instances where someone will attach themselves to you and maybe even stay for an extended period of time. A lot of people who harbor envious feelings towards like a friend, for example, or maybe a colleague. It could be a family member. It can even be romantic. A lot of people make the erroneous assumption that they will try to establish distance or avoid the person that they're envious of. Sometimes that's the case, but evolved envious persons, they require access to their target because they are using their target of envy as the blueprint for their life. And this is exceptionally apparent when you are dealing with someone who harbors an inferiority complex regarding you, when they view you as superior to them and they view themselves as inferior. And this is where friendships begin to disintegrate or experience some kind of friction. And to provide some context on that, I'm going to read from a section in The Lion's Den. And the Pride's excerpt reads, "When you find yourself up against a quote-unquote pride of lions, do not feel discouraged. While groups often enhance collaboration and support, they also have inherent vulnerabilities. Most people associate vulnerability with isolation, but rarely consider the risks of betrayal or abandonment from within their inner circle. Someone who relies too heavily on their pride, believing it to be unshakable, may find themselves more vulnerable than a lone soldier." So what these excerpts in both of these books are getting at is, as you mature, as you develop, you have to embrace the fact that everyone isn't going to associate themselves with you because they have good intentions for you. And this notion doesn't only present itself in a romantic capacity or a professional capacity, it's also prevalent in your platonic relationships. I know a lot of us, we ideally want to develop these symbolic prides, but you can easily set yourself up for failure when you have intentions of developing a friendship, but you're not taking heed to the signs that there's someone who is associating themselves with you only to benefit from you, with no intentions of reciprocating any kind of loyalty or any real camaraderie. So it's important to take heed to the signs, the red flags, when we realize that we are more committed to developing a solid friendship with someone, when in actuality, they are simply using us as a means to an end. As soon as they get in a better position, as soon as they get what they want, they attract what they want, they may up and leave with no intentions of reciprocating, or better yet, feeling like they have to display some kind of loyalty or consideration to us. It doesn't always work out that way. And it's a matter of what are people's intentions when they approach a connection, whether it be platonic or it could be professional, etc. What are people's intentions? Some people have intentions of, well, I'm going to do what needs to be done, but ideally, I do want to build some kind of solid friendship and connection. And I have, good intentions for them. I want this to be mutual. There are other people who don't approach connections that way. They simply approach it through a transactional lens. And in order to avoid any pitfalls in a platonic relationship specifically, you first have to embrace this reality and make sure that you move accordingly to protect yourself and protect whatever valuable assets you bring to this connection. And as I was thinking a little bit about, our muses for this analysis today, and specifically dissecting it through the lens of envious enmeshment, it made me think about a couple of instances in my life, mainly when I was younger. I feel like once you're older and, you're not in a confined space such as grade school where you have to get up and follow a particular schedule because it's literally, it's law. So I've more so experienced these types of things when it was out of my control and I didn't have a choice to get up and get out of Dodge. But nevertheless, one of the first stories that I want to revisit for the sake of, this analysis wasn't actually directed at me. It was within our friend group. And I'll never forget, one of our friends was confiding in me about how they were kind of frustrated because our other friend in the friend group, they knew each other for way longer, significantly longer. Like their parents were acquainted with one another for years. And they were sharing that as they were making stride in their personal life. Like they got a job, they had got a new car, like all of these great things started to happen for them, these blessings. And I remember she was like, "Girl, I'm going to pull up on you on campus," because we went to 2 different schools. This was when I was in college. I was like maybe a freshman or a sophomore at the time in undergrad. And she was like, "Girl, I'm finna pull up on you." I was like, "Girl, what? You have a car?" She was like, "Yes, I'm going to pull up on you. We got to go get lunch." And we did exactly that. We went up to the mall and we got food. I think where did we go? We went to like some burger spot. But I remember I was just so excited for her. I was so happy. And she was like, "Girl, this feels like really good to be around somebody who's like genuinely happy for me." And I'm like, "Girl, what's tea? What happened? And she was like, yeah, like our other friend, I pulled up on her and she just kept ignoring me. She kept walking away from me. She didn't even want to acknowledge the fact that like I got this new car and I've been working really, really hard. And I was like, that's messed up. Why would she act like that? And even though the situation ended up turning out completely horrible, like she confided that in me. And then the next time we all met up, I was on the chopping block. I was like, girl, but you were just complaining about this other friend to me a week ago. But nevertheless, it's still a valuable lesson in that point, right? Taking myself out of it. In that point, that dynamic was, I think, a telltale sign of the fact that maybe this friend wasn't necessarily friends with you for who you are or, invested in all facets of your life. It might have been a contingent companion. And there's another section in the book Green Eyes that talks about these types of friends. And I have several analyses that dissects this excerpt as well, contingent companions. But there are some people who feel like they can only be associated with you as long as they are doing better than you or you all are at the same level. In the moment that you start to break out and, start to achieve certain success and you start to hit certain milestones, that's when you will start to witness these rifts in this relationship. And something that you may have been labeling as a friendship may not have actually been that. You might have been dealing with somebody who is using you as a means to an end. And I think that it's super significant to be able to pick up on those red flags and to move accordingly so that you won't keep breaking your own heart by expecting certain, characteristics and traits or even loyalty, consideration in people, and they just don't have that in them. So when it comes to dealing with somebody who is harboring an inferiority complex regarding you, you have to understand they do not view you as a friend. They are using you as a blueprint. All right, babes, that's all that I have for this analysis on envious enmeshment, specifically within a friendship and with our beautiful muses, Carrie and Samantha from the series Sex and the City. That's all that I have for this analysis today, babes. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. But of course, I want to hear you all's comments, perspectives, and opinions in the comment section below. I look forward to speaking to you guys in the next one. Take care, babes.